executive. You need to sell the console.
I
Um,
don't know. I trust Phil Spencer, and I I don't know if that's a good trust, but I trust him right now. From
And
what
that's fine.
what was that?
sorry, I was just gonna start talking about the actual beta and what I expect from it.
Oh yeah, no, we'll get to that in a second. Let me just state that I feel like that's kind of why they're doing it now. Why the 23rd is going to be a big day for us all, in the regards of Halo. It's gonna be huge, and maybe they've. It's like being pent up, and you have so much to get rid of, and show off and release that you want to do it in the best light possible, which is why they decided to do it on the 23rd instead of like putting out little tidbits of teasers here and there, instead of doing a Hunt the Truth campaign. Um, which again, I'll take the Hunt the Truth campaign over the Halo 5 campaign, except for the fact that I could play as Buck. That was the best part. But I think that's kind of like that's where we're going right now. Is they're so pent up that they're just gonna explode with all of their details on the 23rd. Anyways, Hitbox, as you were saying, multiplayer.
um, I've always been a big fan of like fast movement and all those kind of things, but over time I started to, especially after I started playing other games other than Halo, um, I started realizing that sprint isn't necessary, or at least it isn't necessary in the way it is. Um, I would be perfectly fine without sprint, and I would be fine with sprint. With a special example, I would not be happy with sprint the way it was handled. The way sprint was handled in Halo 5 was, let's take a mechanic that's in every other game, that's made for every other game, and just tape it over on top of our game. But then now it causes problems because it wasn't made for Halo. So then that's those band-aid, you can't recharge shields. Another band-aid, okay, if they shoot you while you're running, it'll kind of stop you and be awkward. And another band-aid, you can't do this. And you're doing all these things that are punishing the ability that they gave us. And I feel like if they do want to do fast movement, if they do want to make some sort of sprint type ability, I think they can, as long as they make it with Halo in mind and like make it
Mm-hmm.
something unique that's unique to Halo, that like isn't the same as sprint is. Um, if not, then I mean I'm cool. I just thruster pack. I love thruster pack. That's like my favorite
I
ability. I've always wanted it ever since it was in Halo 4. Ever since Evade. Evade to me was the forerunner of thruster pack. Like
it very much was.
my favorite.
I like to point out that I always find it interesting that players, or people get confused, or not confused, they get concerned, and the first thing they bring up in multiplayer is always sprint. That always, I find it fascinating, mostly because Halo 2 has sprint, but it's cut. Like, you can activate it. It's just a checkbox that you turn back on. And I find it interesting. So many people are like, sprint doesn't belong in Halo. And I'm just like, at one point it almost did. And it was before every other gun and shooter game had sprint in it. Halo almost did it first, which I find hilarious. But
Yeah.
I get why you feel that way. Halo 4's sprint was not that great either, because if you were sprinting and you meleeed, it wouldn't melee. It was pretty bad. So yeah. So I mean, what about you, Persian? What do you want from multiplayer in Halo Infinite?
so I never really put too much thought into it because, while sprint is a really widely contested issue, I've never really cared too much whether it is or isn't, and so I don't have much of an opinion as far as the gameplay. Um, because I mean, I like the way that in some occasions how the Halo Reach gameplay worked, and I know that a lot of people didn't like the armor abilities. If I had a choice, at the very least, bring those back as an optional thing, because I love the jetpack. So
Yeah.
I don't think my opinion would be really valued when it comes to the multiplayer.
Okay. I mean, I disagree. I think everyone's opinion is valuable. Whether it means anything or not is another story. But Valiant Wolf, though, what do you think? What do you want in the multiplayer?
I just feel like Sprint is a modernization of games. It I don't know, it's a really complicated topic because on one hand, the original Bungie trilogy was built off of keeping your gun up at the same time and just having one pace of combat,
Mm-hmm.
while just nowadays in games, sprinting's some sort of mechanic to get you across the map faster. And even in recent games, kind of been it's kind of been nerfed as like a tactic, almost something you wouldn't want to use. Like in the most recent COD, there's a sprint to fire speed, and the attachments you put on your gun adjusts that sprint to fire speed.
Hmm.
So it makes you think more tactically about just sprinting around the map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things I personally do is in Halo ODST Slayer, more specifically, I don't like sprinting because it keeps my gun up, and obviously I'm not stuttering as much. But like, I don't know. I think that if there's a feature that I definitely want to come back, it has to be clamber. I like clamber a lot. It makes parkour maps so much more enjoyable.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also think that's a nice modernization of games.
Hmm.
I know
I'm
a
really
lot of-
big. I'm really sorry.
You can go ahead. That's what
I'm really big on in combat. Two of my most favorite games is that aren't Halo is Doom Eternal
Okay.
and Titanfall.
Right.
Titanfall 2.
Oh my god.
One of my favorite things about Doom Eternal is when you use your thrust, your boost, it's used to dodge things. Like it's a movement ability.
Mhm.
But you're not sacrificing shooting for moving. You're thrusting and shooting. You don't even skip a beat on your
Right.
weapon fire, like when you use your boost. I
Right.
love that. Also, Titanfall, you could sprint and shoot. You could slide and shoot. You
In
could
Battlefield,
grapple.
there's you have the ability to do that too in certain. Or no, wait, you have the ability to sprint and reload at the same time. Never mind.
Yeah, you can sprint and reload. But like, there are things that you could choose to do to stay in combat,
Mm-hmm.
and I really took it to heart when people were saying how they didn't like sprint because it took you out of the combat. And I remember it's like, okay, I have to, instead of just me spawning and fighting, I'm spawning, having to do an extra action to get to the fight. But then if I don't stop the action in time before I get to the fight, then I'm at a disadvantage in the fight. And it's like, I would rather just not have that whole extra step and just rather just spawn and attack. So I like the idea of sprint being there to give you an option to move and rearrange, and maybe it could hurt your aim or your weapon's recoil or whatever. But I'm really big on like, don't punish me for using something that you added to the game. Like everything that you can do should add to the fight. It should add, like
Right.
more
Yeah.
just keep the game moving.
Yeah.
Sprint, especially when your shields, especially if you can't recharge your shields when sprinting, that just stops the game dead because now you can't move on, you can't move forward. It's just, okay, I killed somebody, now I have to just stand here and I'm stuck in place. Okay, shields are charged. Now I could go get somewhere.
Right, and I know why they did that. They did it for tactical reasons. But Halo 4, you could recharge your shields while sprinting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and Halo 4 had a huge running away problem. It's a kind of interesting thing, though, is what if in Halo 4 you could shoot while sprinting? Now those people who would just run away, you just run right after them and shoot them in the back.
At that point, why would anyone stop sprinting?
Yeah.
Then you create another problem.
But it's more of like figure out a way to implement the ability instead of sending it how it is and then throwing a bunch of band-aids on it. Because it's just going to cause more and more problems.
I wonder how a stamina would work. Because in Halo 5, we have an unlimited sprint. Like, what if the sprint was limited? It had a cooldown
like reach in 4
of sorts.
4 sprint was limited. And reaches.
Mm-hmm. Some sort, and they weren't really well telegraphed in 4, though. Like, you just, when you ran out, and you're like, oh, okay,
right.
When can I do it again?
That's true.
Right.
So I feel like if there was a well telegraphed way to know, because I'm not quite sure how sprinting as a Spartan works. I mean, in the trailers, you see them doing it effortlessly. In Halo 3, Master Chief runs over a ledge and does a slam down with his everything and goes boom and explodes, and like, we can't do that in game. So we're running over time on this topic, but I did want to actually bring up real quick that I know regardless what they put in multiplayer, I'll at least enjoy it somewhat. At minimum, I'm still going to have fun.
I did have a weird dream about watching Halo Infinite gameplay, and it was so weird, and like the sprint just took like 5 seconds to reach max speed, and like there's just all sorts of really weird abilities, and I just remember thinking people are not gonna like this. But
Was there a grappling hook?
no, there wasn't. It was really weird. It was a weird dream.
I had a really weird dream that I was also watching Infinite gameplay, and this was when they launched. Like, I had watched the reveal trailer with Bro Gunman, the Bro Hammer, the pilot guy. I'd watched that trailer over and over again, and I had a dream that, like, not you specifically, but like our Halo group was at E3, and we were watching gameplay live, and like, the game was very much like open, and the multiplayer was weird because the multiplayer was more like For Honor, and I was like, oh, that's neat. Apparently I want For Honor, even though I've never played For Honor. Okay.
Have you seen gameplay for it?
Oh yeah, I've seen plenty of gameplay for Honor. I wanted the game, just never got it. So, with multiplayer, we obviously know Forge is going to be coming. Fingers crossed it doesn't wait 3 months. But one thing that you guys want in your Forge wish list, not AI. Let's get that over with now. Let's not wish for AI, because we can hope all we want, but it's really up to 343 to say, oh yeah, that makes sense, bod, and give it to us.
I think you telling us not to want AI is clearly the thing that almost everybody wants.
No, I mean not to. I didn't mean not to want AI. That I misspoke. That's my bad. I meant not to put that on your. What is your second most wished thing if AI is the first?
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
I would be happy with Halo 5's Forge, but working exactly how it's intended to work. So rotation script will just rotate. Just no glitching, no server problems. Just a rotation script 90 degrees. It will perfectly rotate 90 degrees.
Oh my god, wouldn't that be a
Message
dream?
send alpha, it would just send it perfectly every time. Like, the Halo 5 is already so powerful, and you can already do so many things, and I've already made AI. Like,
right. No,
with
and I
how
remember
Halo 5
that.
is. And the only reason why we're limited is just because we're pushing it to its limits and doing things with boundary check. Boundary check doesn't work either. If boundary check worked perfectly. So, like, I'm happy with Halo 5's Forge. If it worked exactly as intended, no bugs, bigger limit, and maybe like a little bit better options, you know, like how you could check the health of an item with some scripts in Halo 5, but it's like very like off the beaten path, random specific thing. Like, just give us more things to deal with, just more. Just you could look at the health of a player, and then based off their health percentage, you could do something to that player. Val1ant actually says he wants players to do things. So like if a player presses a button or activates something, it'll make the player use a thruster pack. Like actually taking over the player's systems as a whole. So like if you want the player to do a scripted event like run forward, Spartan charge through a wall, please don't be an infinite. Run forward and melee through a wall and just thrust forward, then you could actually script the Spartan to do that. And then that way you could actually make your own, and that way would perfectly segue into making your own AI. I kind of don't want them to add AI because I don't want it to be like a random Fortnite Sentry if you've played Fortnite's creative mode.
No, I haven't.
It's just like it just spawns a unit. You can control how far they can see, how accurate they are, and how often they shoot, what gun they have, but they just stand there. They do nothing. It's a glorified turret. And like I don't want some super basic AI thing that you have no control over. Like, I just want the tools to build an AI and build it react on like my own way, and build it more. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm really big on that kind of stuff. Like, I just want more options and more fidelity.
What about you, Val1ant?
I can get behind what Hitbox is saying. I like more options in scripting. Just more minuscule type actions and wins and ifs. And I'd also like more map options and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the scripting, it'd be nice to be able to change almost virtually every aspect of an object in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the boundary,
Right.
the rotation of the boundary, the boundary's size, just the color of it, and even lights, like changing the color of the light, changing if it's a spot or point, if it's dynamic or not.
Right.
Just every detail that we have customization, but just in scripting form.
That makes sense.
And then on the other hand, I'd also like more map options and more customization, like making your own skybox, placing your own sun, pretty much.
I would really like that, or even a day-night cycle as an addition to the skybox. That would just
well, if you had your own sun, and they allowed us control over that, and even through scripting, you could potentially script your own day and night cycle, and even the speed at which it cycles.
Yeah. There we go. I want water.
That'd be great.
I want a water volume.
I forgot about that.
I'll only want water if the water volumes work like Minecraft. Like you just place the block down, it just goes, and this fills up an area.
Dynamic water volumes. Well, I mean, they added creative mode flying to Halo with a skull, so I don't see why not.
They already added that part of it.
Speaking of...
I have a feeling we will be getting water volumes. It was really quick, but I took a screenshot of it the other day. There's this one section in the gameplay trailer, the making of... I think it was like the making of the Infinite trailer, where we see waves going up against what look like Forge objects, and the waves are actually interacting with the object.
Oh, man.
And they're dynamically pushing past the object and stopping at the object.
Dynamic water volumes would be the shiz. Like, oh, man. Speaking of that trailer, actually...
I already know water volumes are going to be the grass of Halo Infinite.
Oh, my God, right? The grass and...
They're pretty, but you put more than 3 on a map and the frame rate's down to 2.
Oh, man. Well, we can hope not. I was thinking more of the instance of, like, people were like, yes, the grass. Give me more of that. Like in Halo 4, we got the tree, and everyone was like, oh, we have trees! And then Halo 5, we get grass and a pool noodle, and everyone's like, oh, grass and pool noodles! And it's like, what could, like... AI and water would be the thing that people go over in Halo Infinite Forge.
And a prophet's chair.
Yes. Oh, please. Give us... So, I'm pretty sure they are dropping subtle hints for a lot of things. First off, that making of the trailer, I'm pretty sure they teased a little bit. A lot of people are using that trailer one 1 second section. What was it? It showed like the Halo ring in an open environment, which people are using that as, hey, this is going to be an open world game. We can explore part, if not all, of the Halo ring. I'm all for it. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm all for it. Also, if you put me in a drop pod to drop into the next location, that would be rad. Let's go on to MCC, which is...
Wait. Can I actually
No,
add
go for
something
it. Go
to
for
this
it, yeah.
portion? Because I had time to think about it, because after reflecting what everybody else said, I believe, because there was a lot of emphasis on the scripting and there was a few things on like the visual aspects of the game, like changing the actual like skybox. I think any forger would really appreciate a dynamic landscape. Basically, what I'm thinking is if you grab all of your terrain pieces, you can change it from a snow to a rock to moon, whatever, without having to actually replace the piece one at a time. Because there's times where I've made maps and I just wanted to change the theme but not the layout, and it would be very nice to just change the block's skin. I mean, because you kind of already do that with the cubes, or I forgot what they're called now.
The primitives, yeah.
Yeah, the primitives. So you could change their skin. So why not do it to the actual pieces of the terrain?
So that's because of texture map projection. But I think you're thinking too small. I think you need to think bigger. What if we had a canvas and we could change the canvas's entire basin, but not just that? We can have those pieces and manipulate the terrain with a brush or something. What if we had a terrain editor instead of those little blocks and stuff?
I'll totally be for that. I'm thinking if the system is similar to Halo 5, I'm thinking based off of the Halo 5 system. I know that you're thinking more of like what's the Farcry type thing?
Less Far Cry. And Far Cry's map editor kind of didn't do it justice. Halo would be able to do it better, though.
Perhaps, but that's what I mean. It's like that's a completely different system, and that it would be a definite change. It would.
So you're thinking of voxel terrains?
Yeah,
for the most part, yeah. But the same thing. While on that same subject, if you place down a water volume, maybe you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want it to be water. I want it to be a lava volume or a acidic lake volume.
That would be kind of cool.
Just change it. And then, you know what? Since it's a water volume, maybe I want to make it partially frozen. So instead of it moving flawlessly like water does, it becomes more slushy to the point where it's frozen, depending on how you set the settings.
Now, that's a little much. That's creative. I like that. One thing that I could definitely get behind, though, is like, why stop there? Why not have a biome style editor? So you switch like, oh, I want the water to be more like alpine, or I want the water to be more tropical colors. So, yeah.
And that's why I liked when someone was talking about day and night cycle. I thought it would be kind of cool. I wished Halo 5 did this, where they did just enable the day and night cycle, especially since there's going to be that new lighting system. I keep forgetting what that's called, ray tracing.
Yeah.
It'd be super cool to play like any Halo Infinite map, and you may play it in one matchmaking round it's daytime, the next matchmaking round it's nighttime, just to kind of keep things a little bit fresh.
That would be exciting. I mean, it would make my ODST maps really cool.
One thing that would be super duper elly looper pooper scooper amazing, but they probably won't do because they're gonna cower it out and make it T for teen, is if you can import your own asset, your own music, your own sounds, your own drawings, your own. I doubt they'll ever let that happen. Microsoft seems to have a pretty heavy hand on those things, but that would just be.
I actually
anything at that point.
I could see it because Sony doesn't want to do that sort of thing. Remember when mods came to Skyrim and Fallout for Xbox? Xbox's Fallout got almost all of the mods that were compatible. PlayStation was like, you cannot have a mod that imports custom assets. And it's like, okay, but why? So that was quite unique and interesting. So if they did, it would definitely be a huge point for Microsoft and a huge point for 343, and they'd be like, heck yeah, let's do it. But I don't know. It's too early to tell.
Yeah, maybe if they had some sort of algorithm or way they could manage the assets, which sounds awful because we all know how algorithms work, YouTube. But I think if they don't have the manpower, if they feel like they want to control it, maybe there can be some sort of way to just minimize and be like, hey, this asset is clear, you could use it. And it's almost more like a map feature, like how they feature maps
like an asset library.
An asset library.
So they'll just be like, this asset is dope. We'll let you guys put it in the game, and now everybody has access.
That is the best idea you've had all night. So something like that, because I just want to make custom ODST campaigns. Like,
That'd be cool.
every week I still get a message from someone being like, "Hey, when are you updating your drop pods? Hey, are you gonna give us a prefab for your drop pods? Hey, is there a new map coming out for your drop pods?" It's an endless cycle for me because that's what I'm
When
known
you
for.
drop your next drop pod.
When you gonna drop your next pod? Yeah, so we're way over budget and time for this section, but that's okay.
Is it okay if I add one last thing, just because I think it's super important?
Yes,
It is
please.
super.
Go for it.
Okay, vehicle welding. I would, if you guys have ever seen Space Engineers, I would just appreciate. Let's skip like molding or melding a warthog to a piece of block and trying to make it drive. Just give us wheels, and we'll place the height of the wheels and make our own custom vehicles.
There you
That's
go.
it. That's all I have to say.
Space Engineers it. That'd be funny. I like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wish list item is custom campaigns. Just being able to design a custom campaign with maybe an NPC or end goals. Have multiple maps that you can string together to say, hey, this is part 1 of my campaign mission. This is my next part, and so on and so forth.
I wonder if the hard drive would let you do that. Kind of like after you finish campaign 1, load up campaign 2. I wonder if that'd be a possible feature they could input.
I have no idea. But speaking of Forge, MCC is getting its Halo 3 update, which brings a lot of bug fixes and custom...
Oh, it's already out.
Oh, is it already out?
Dropped
okay.
tonight.
Heck
It dropped
yeah.
tonight.
So Halo 3 and Halo Reach, their Forge palettes have been increased. And I'm looking at that going, why didn't I already have that before? Like, not like in the sense of why didn't 343 bring that, but one of my biggest wish lists when Reach came out was like, oh man, it's going to be tied to Xbox Live even harder than before. Bungie is going to give us like Forge canvas updates and they're going to bring more items, and it never came. And then, Halo 4 didn't do it, and then finally Halo 5 did, and it's like literally waited a lot of years for this.
I feel like it was just a matter of how popular Forge was.
Right.
Because at that time, it was still really experimental.
Mhm.
And, like, it was... Halo Reach was the second iteration of Forge. And they're
Technically
just
third,
like,
but
you guys
yeah.
want to make your own stuff, so just here you go.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, it really just started kind of taking off, and they saw how many people were just really building maps in Halo 5 and
Mm-hmm.
how good of a community it was that they wanted it to keep going, and they
Mhm.
kind of realized that was Halo 5's legacy.
Isn't it ironic that the architects are the ones that ended up keeping the game alive? I kid you not, I think about that all the time. It's us, the forgers, the creators, the ones who always are constantly making stuff. We're the ones who helped keep it alive. And some of the people who forged, like Wyvern Zoo and Psycho Duck and others, eventually got a position in 343's sweet spot. They, like, some of them got jobs, others got like moderator roles, and it's fantastic. But most importantly, there's a very controversial update that people are talking about, and I do want to address it in some light, and you probably already know where I'm going, but Halo CE is the second season to receive the cosmetic update. And I want to take a second to address that this is something that more than likely, just like Forge, is showing little hints for Halo Infinite. And I know a lot of people are like, skins for Halo CE, what the hell is that? Why did you dip your chocolate in my peanut butter, bro? But, like, I don't know. I really feel like, though it doesn't belong natively, it still makes sense from a, maybe not lore standpoint, but from the game itself standpoint. Custom visors, I mean, that always makes sense to me just because it's another thing to add color to your character. But, like, weapon skins is always a weird one. Warthog skins and vehicle skins, that's a weird one. But they still fit to me. But I'm going to stop talking to let you guys talk about it, and give your thoughts on Halo CE getting skins, because I feel like I know where this is going.
Oh, I'm all for it, really. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Gives that extra customization to Halo CE that it really never had before.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Well, I'm glad we're in agreement.
It's unanimous.
I'm so glad we're in agreement, because if one of the friends that I invited to the podcast today actually joined, he would be off on a tangent. But that's okay, because I respect why he feels the way he does. But to kind of see both sides of the coin.
Oh my goodness.
What happened? You okay? Oh, bless you. You sneezed. May the Forerunners look upon you and say, why?
Well, what's really cool about that is what really puts, what makes me have faith in 343 is that they did think about the people who want that classic gameplay.
Right.
And they do have an option to remove the skins.
Right, and I absolutely adore that. And that's the point I was going to talk about next, is you can turn it off straight up. You don't even have to look at it. What I actually think is even cooler is that Season 1 and Season 2, they said that you should be able to achieve Season 1 and 2 items no matter what or where. So if you miss Season 1 and 2 and Season 3 comes out and it's Halo 2 customization options, like they add new armor to Halo 2 and new visors and weapon skins and stuff, because I feel like that's where it's going to end up going, you can still unlock Season 1 and 2 stuff, which is pretty cool, which I'm all for. I also am all for the fact that it seems like this is what they're planning on doing for Halo Infinite. And Halo 3 just also received a little bit of an update. Now you don't have to be stuck with one set of armor. You can customize your shoulders and your chest and your helmet. And it's like, thank God, what took you so long? I'm just excited. I'm sorry. I went a little overboard there.
No, you're good.
I honestly feel like it's a good thing that we didn't have this customization at the start. Because then there would have felt like there was no reward for being able to customize your Spartan.
Right.
And them taking the time to actually think up a way that wasn't too predatory to the customers.
Right.
Was actually a good thing. And I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this in Infinite, like us getting unlocked tokens for armors as we level up.
And even if they created a system that's a little closer to Reach, I would still like that too. One thing, though, I'd like to say I'm glad about is there's no pizza or French fry skin in Halo CE's customization wheelhouse. I am very happy about that.
I was severely disappointed by that.
Really? You like the pizza and French fry skin?
Yes, just because how absurd it is.
Right. Oh my God. Lore nuts, though. They hate it. I actually thought up of a couple of skin ideas, like to appease to the people who like the lore and who like customization. One idea I had was a weapon skin that's covered in like blue splotches. And the lore underneath it says this belonged to a Marine who, after 6 months of captivity in the Covenant camps, as soon as he was let out, would not stop hitting the elite in the face even after he stopped breathing. Or maybe like even a skin that's like covered in mud, and it's like, you found this in the mud, congratulations. No, but something about like a Marine or a Spartan who lost their gun in some sort of firefight, but it still fires true. Stuff like that. Skins that have some sort of lore attached to it. Like, what's the lore behind the pizza skin? If you can logically explain it to me, then I'm fine.
I think they actually do have don't they actually do have the little lore things?
I know they do for armor.
I think it's because humans like a special kind of food called pizza. I'm joking, I don't know.
It's okay. My favorite gun skin is the Boomco AR, because I actually have that one. as far as that goes, I think the customization is a hint to what we can expect in Halo Infinite. I also think that Mythical Slayer or whatever was around and Halo ODST Slayer is sort of a hint to Infinite's multiplayer style. Only time will tell, and we will find out more, hopefully more, on the 23rd. But let's break away from Halo for a second and talk about Ubisoft's event. Did everyone watch Ubisoft's event today?
I did not.
No.
Did anyone watch the trailers afterwards?
I saw some of them, but not all of them.
Okay. Well, Watch Dogs 2 was the big one for me. Assassin's Creed was huge. It looked like a combination between like Arkham and The Witcher and a little bit of oh goodness me, I'm losing it now. It's another RPG, but I can't think of it. But it looks like these different RPGs, in the best way possible, combined into one open world environment, because we're moving further and further away from the Assassin's Creed name. The biggest similarities between all of them is the Hidden Blade. Like in this one, you're a Viking. Nothing to do with the Creed. I'm not sure where that comes into play. I'm intrigued, though, to say the least.
She might become one at the end.
That's possible. And then, obviously, Far Cry 6. We have Mr. Glass, or Gus from Breaking Bad, playing the lead villain, from what I can tell. He gave a grenade to a child. That's something you do as a sane person.
I thought it was very sane. I mean, clearly he made the kid understand life and death as a crazy person.
Well, okay. You know what? I cannot fault you for agreeing with that statement. That's fantastic.
It's also Gus. Like, he can't do wrong.
Okay. But the one that was really stand out to me, or that did really stand out to me, has to be Watch Dogs. This cinematic trailer was very different. I'm very curious as to if the art direction for Watch Dogs had changed, because the entire trailer, I was like, am I watching Into the Spider-Verse or something about Watch Dogs? Because it had that comic book, cel-shady aesthetic to it.
This Into the Spider-Verse art direction is a really cool way to approach the trailer, although I don't think they're going to continue that concept with the game itself. Yeah, it was a very noticeable trailer. I very much appreciated them doing something like that, but ultimately I don't think it has any effect on the game, so...
I don't know.
It is what it is.
If that was the art style, though, I would be signed up for that copy right away. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
I feel like there was a game that had a similar art style, but I can't recall what game that would have been.
Well, if you ever find out, let me know, and we'll put it on screen at this timestamp. But yeah, so that's kind of one of the big things that stuck out to me today. Man, apparently I can't talk straight. Last but not least, with Ubisoft announcing all that stuff, we're getting closer to the Xbox unveiling. I thought that they were going to show more off at the Xbox unveiling, but then I remembered that it's a first-party thing. So, do you think they're going to show more than Halo Infinite?
Of course.
Okay.
They've already said they would.
Right, but like, what do you think they're going to show? Like Halo Infinite, obviously, more than likely Gears of War, probably a Forza.
We're gonna see the Turn 10 Studios, I believe, is that the developer's name? I don't know. The one who developed the game for Forza. They are making a new game, and it's supposed to be the Fable game. I suspect we may not see gameplay, but we'll probably see a trailer. Similar, their new studio, I forget the name. They will be actually there. If we don't know if it's going to be a trailer or some sort of sneak peek or even gameplay. I don't expect gameplay, but that is a question, because what games does Xbox have? It may have. What good does all the power in the world do if you don't have games? I mean, yes, there's Halo, but gamers don't look at Halo the same way they used to.
Gamers never looked at Halo the same way they do for anything else. So
I suppose that's true, but
it's a legendary game, but it's definitely like it's almost niche in its regard. Not like niche as in like a very small group of people use it, but it's niche in its perspective of the first-person shooter genre and the gaming genre just in general.
Well, with that being said, I think we covered everything. I've got a few closing things I want to say to show off the community highlight. I would like to do a community highlight at the end, but before I do that, does anyone else have anything else to say?
I dropped my hot pocket.
Oh no! What about Val1ant?
I was watching that cinematic trailer. It's interesting. It's I don't think the game itself will be going necessarily in that direction. I think the graphics will mainly stay with what we saw in the previous gameplay things, but maybe when you access your phone, perhaps.
Ooh, like it'll have that aesthetic. That's a good possibility. I like that idea.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I do have one last thing I want to say. It's a quick thing.
Yeah.
If I had to rank the Ubisoft games, I would say Far Cry has my most interest, Watch Dogs second, and Valhalla third.
I concur with that list. That would probably be where I put everything. So let's go ahead and get to the community highlights. Halo 5 right now is doing Halo ODST Slayer. I only bring that up because I'm obsessed with Halo ODST and the ODST aesthetic. Yeah, I am. Haha. Anyways, community-made content of the week. We actually have two things. I may just do one thing from now on, but we have two things. Maybe three if I self-sponsor. The first Halo map that we have this week is going to be Sextant from IcyHotSpartan, and you can find that on ForgeHub. It's forgehub.com/maps/sextant.7579. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is there is no file browser for MCC at the moment, and if there is now, it wasn't in the flight. So if you want to do any file browsing, feel free to visit forge.halocrea.com, and you'll be able to browse for custom files, maps, game modes, etc., all from community members, and you can download them with the instructions provided on the website. Links for those will also be in the description. Yeah. If nobody else has anything else to say.
I mean, I have a plug.
Go ahead. Plug your stuff.
I just now started, well, not just now. A couple weeks ago, I made a game mode called Attrition. And I happened to got my own contest running for it on ForgeHub.
Nice.
It's $500 for the first place, $300 for second place, $200 for third place. And I'm a judge, Bob is here as judge, and Max Extra as a judge. It's a push-forward combat gameplay. Think of like trench warfare, but not camp. I'll post a link, and it has made my own professional-looking video for it. I even wrote the script for the whole contest and everything. And it's my contest, and I wanted to see maps for the game mode I made. And my biggest goal is I want to regret making this contest because people submitted so many maps that I have to test something. Like, that's what I want.
That sounds good to me. Well, you can count me in. If I can get a free moment, I'll definitely submit a map.
Oh, for
Heck
sure.
yeah. I want to see an ODST map now.
I'm going to obsess over it.
You could submit up to 3 maps. The deadline is in 3 weeks, but the game mode is fairly small. Actually, let me pull it for you right now.
Sounds good.
Copy, and then how do I send it? I'll just send it to General.
Yep, send it to General.
I said that to General. I thought Val1ant sent that to me in a private message with my reply.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. But no, yeah, there's the link.
I was
I'm
wondering
really
why
excited
you said
about
that in the general chat. I'm not going to show it on screen,
Yeah, but-
don't worry.
Because I
Yeah,
like,
but
what-
that's the image I was talking about when
It's
we
so-
were over
Yeah, I want that in
our
Forge.
volume topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's warranted, and I don't think it's an overstep. But it is in PC.
Not an overstep at all. With that, I'd like to thank the audience members who have tuned in for tuning in this week to the Weekly Forgecast. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll tune in next week when we broadcast and talk about other things. We will be broadcasting from a different relay station on Zeta Halo. If you don't want to miss a group of friends talking about random stuff like this, please consider subscribing. Everyone, thank you for joining me today. Hitbox, it was a pleasure as always. Persian, a pleasure as always.
Again.
And, of course,
My pleasure is mine.
Val1ant W0lf, it's always an honor. Even though this is the first time.
I was looking forward to talking about that G9 monitor for
And
$1,000.
it's actually Proud Pupper is his actual.
Proud Pupper. All right.
Don't listen to it.
All right. Proud Pupper, Val1ant W0lf, whichever sticks in my memory. All right. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.